Well, tomorrow is the 1st of December, and we're sliding into that period where we have to take stock of how the year has been, how the year went, and also do proper reflection of ourselves, how we've lived as a country, as a people, etc. There's always an event on the divine calendar in Ghana. Talk about Impact Summit, the other ones. And then we have this one called December to Remember. It's put together by the House of Miracle Ministries Worldwide, where we have a regular prophet on the show who comes in when we have events by House of Miracle Ministries Worldwide. And we have Prophet Amwating. We have Prophet Samson Amwating in the studio. So, good morning to you, Prophet. And he's here with Dr. Gabriel Amwati-Buang. He's a professional chaplain based in the U.S., but also happens to be the father of Prophet Samson Amwating. I don't know, if you go to the main high street of Accra, from the airport to, I believe, Opebia, you'll find their boards there, 4 handsome men by this man. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
And it's something now it's become a ritual, December to Remember.
Yeah, the December.
It's a congregation of like minds, but also like congregation who want to think about the things of God, but also project the Ghanaian society to where it has to be. Is that not it?
Yeah, exactly.
How eventful will this year be?
This year, 2017, December to Remember is going to be one of the unique ones, all because this is the first time our own biological father, who trained us, in the fear of the Lord, is joining us for the first time. And charity begins in the house. By the grace of God, God used him to train us. All 4 of us were into ministry. It's not because we just came into the ministry, but it started when we were young. So it's going to be unique. It's going to be more of impartation. It's going to be more of what we've learned or whatever, the man, taught us. He himself is here. So he's going to, be one of the major speakers in the December.
So the Abraham himself is here.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we know that when we have these events, it's because we want to have that sort of reflection. You're based in the U.S., and sometimes you look at the way we undertake worship and things like that, both countries. The scenarios are different. How can we synchronize our two societies to make sure that when we say we're doing something to the Lord, it's done well and adequately?
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting question. Ghanaians, as we all know, are very spiritual people, and I respect Ghanaians for that. Ghanaians have time for the Lord, time for prayer, time to study to study the Bible and all that. So that is very encouraging, and I'm proud of Ghanaians with that. However, I see some abuses in ministry, and that has been my personal concern, that as a beloved country, we need to do things right. Going to the U.S., the U.S. has its own challenges, but some of the abuses we experience in Ghana, you don't experience in the U.S. Probably it also has something to do with the legal system there. There are so many things you can't do in the U.S. if you are a minister. So to start with, these are the 2 things I see. And just as you said, if we're able to blend the 2, I think it will augur well for society and for the kingdom of God as a whole.
So our discussion is focusing on main societal issues. Then we also discuss what the whole event will be. At the end of the day, we know that our society is plagued with a number of socio-cultural, developmental issues. So sometimes we want to make ends meet. So we go beyond the norm to do all things. You look at young people today, they want to live a very fast life. Everybody wants to live a very fast life, really. But at the end of the day, a journey should begin with a step. What do you make of your own observations of the current trends, and how perhaps ministries like yours could make the necessary impact?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Most people just enter into ministry, and even in every area of life, and they really want quick results.
instead of going through the process, you know, and so now everybody goes after the money aspect or the fame aspect, but they don't want to go through the experience aspect. So now we have a lot of people in all areas of life, you know, in the hospital, in the church, in every place. They just want to see the results, but they don't want to go through the pains, you know, or the learning process. I call it the learning process. So it's rather unfortunate, and we are now producing, you know, wild and bad, you know, professionals, not only in ministry, but even in schools.
Yeah, I'm talking the whole general society.
Yes, exactly. Now everybody, you see, most of these youngsters, everything's about money and nothing else. But when we were growing up, you used to, you know, when you see even an elderly person, you carry, if the person's carrying a load, you help the person. Nowadays, you sit in a bus or a trotro, an elderly person is standing, you don't care. Everything's about self, and I think it's hard, you know, it's time for us to, you know, go back to the drawing board and, you know, try to, the church has a role to play. I believe that, you know, the church has a major role because most people go to church. You know, the same people who are doing this, they go to church. Those who are doing this 419, Sakawa, or all these things, they are in the church and they go and they give offerings, and the pastor does not talk about it, because if you talk about it, they will not come again and they will not come and give. And that is why now we have people in church but few Christians. And I think the church needs to, you know, play like a major role in building, you know, Ghana again.
Is it because our norms in society have changed, or perhaps it's just that we're taking a cue from the West, and so we feel that we need to live Hollywood in Ghana?
Well, not so much from the West. You know, in the context of Scripture, Matthew 5:16 will say that, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. You see, so I just as my son said, Prophet Samson said, first we must look at the culture. I know culture is dynamic. In other words, things keep on changing. But we must maintain that aspect that is very perfect and excellent. Protect it and hand over to the next generation. We met our grandfathers and our fathers. No, they brought us up in the fear of God. No, just as he said, respect for one another, respect for the elderly. So we came to meet that, and for example, in relation to my sons, I transferred that to them. Now they are adults and they are going about their own life. So let's look at the culture, the Ghanaian culture. It's such a beautiful culture. We must have that respect for the elderly. Whatever the individual works, we must work very hard. You know, you go to the US and you can't just mess up. You either go to work or you don't go. When you go, you give your best. Well, I'm not in Ghana, but at least I have been following some developments in Ghana. Most people go to work late. Once at work, some of them even work the lottery at work. Some of them don't have even respect for the manager or the managers, and there's no discipline at the workplace. So at the end of the day, the output is low, and we tend to blame the government. No, I think we must look at the individual, family, larger society, and then the government. So we all have a part to play. I don't believe that it is rather the West that is influencing us. We are capable as Ghanaians. So the time has come for us to wake up and do the right things to improve our own country.
What's the focus for this year's December to remember?
The focus is for every believer to enter your rest, and that is the theme for the conference.
Every believer
to enter their rest. Okay. Because, you know, when God created man on the 6th day. The next day, the 7th day, God gave to man as a resting day. So the intentions of God to create you is for you to enjoy life, not to go through pains and a lot of issues.
But we'll go through pains.
But when man sinned against God, man was moved from that realm or that place of rest. So Jesus' assignment on earth, his mission statement was, come unto me, all ye who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So the assignment of Jesus is to put man to the place of rest. And it's not just a particular physical location, but it's a realm you get to in life that, you know, you begin to fellowship with, you know, divinity whilst you are still even as a human being. So men, women of God, everyone, we must get to the place. That is the assignment of Jesus on earth, to put man to the place of rest. And when you get to the place of rest, you don't need to pray for money for this. Now people go to church and it's like, give me a husband, give me a wife, give me this. It's not about that. When you get to that realm of rest, you enjoy a package called restoration. So even the first part of the word restoration is rest. So just get there, just connect yourself to Christ, and he will lead you to that place, and it's just a fellowship. And you know what you need, he knows it, and he will give it to you.
Mm. And what we say, rest and restoration, etc., how do we do the transition and say that what is said in the church, let's say December to remember, you're really going to have that fulfillment and that manifestation?
Well, with reference to that, I would say that the emphasis must be on personal relationship with Christ. You know, these days, it's so unfortunate. Most preachers want to preach without mentioning the name of Christ. But without Christ, there wouldn't be anything called Christianity. So I believe that whenever we have the platform, the individual must preach the salvation message, the good news. John 3:16 has always been John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish and have everlasting life. So if that relationship is there, then we can talk about the rest my son is talking about. So it becomes a package. We don't struggle. But when that relationship is missing, then it's like we are trying to pick isolations here and there, and that doesn't work. You see, so in answer to that question, I would say that the first and foremost is the foundation, which is relationship with Christ, the individual and Christ. And when we have that relationship, you grow in the knowledge of Christ, in the knowledge of his word. Concern for the other person becomes your concern. So that aspect of selfish life is no more. And then you yourself, you are not struggling through life. Life takes its natural course. And again, there is this aspect of divinity, which most preachers also try to miss. You know, it's like all that most preachers preach is about, you know, prosperity, you know, money, and all those things. But they don't have that aspect of the fact that one day we'll live here. You know, I've worked as a professional chaplain at the University of Chicago Medical Center, one of the best hospitals in the U.S. And during my administration, I saw a lot of people transition to eternity. And during those last days, some will ask me, Chaplain, I'm afraid to die. Others will say, now, I'm not sure where I'm going. You know, because of all these things, that brings me a lot of burden. So now that the individual is alive in the churches, it is up to the ministers to tell the truth and tell people that there's a place called heaven. And heaven is a prepared place for prepared people. I mean, you don't get to heaven by chance. You see, so it is a process. And we need to all get ourselves ready for that journey.
But Prophet Amata, how do we perhaps try to paint that positive or that utopic picture to your ordinary Christian or believer? Saying that beyond what you see here, there's the outwardness of a heavenly divine place.
No, because God, you know.
Of course, I know it's in the Bible and all that, but I'm talking about how do you try to put that into the mind and into the belief and faith of the ordinary Christian who that you encounter? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, it's like you pose the question, where will you spend eternity? And when you pose that question, you get all kinds of answers from professionals, literates, illiterates, male, female, scientists.
Especially.
You get all kinds of questions. And with my background as a professional chaplain, when I hear those answers, then I say to myself, the answer is very simple. You know, like, you know, I flew from the US, I needed visa, I needed passport to be able to fly. So if one day the individual is going to leave this earth, of course that individual will need having passport and a visa to go to heaven. And that is salvation in Christ. That is where the aspect comes in. which most preachers these days are silent about it. Talk about holy living. These days, most preachers are silent about holy life. I mean, all this is a package. So now when you downplay salvation in Christ, life of holiness, concern for one another, then it means we are missing the actual message. We are missing the actual message.
So December to remember, so we're going to have you, who else?
Prophet Daniela Morton, Dr. Marka Morton, and Brian Morton.
Okay. All of them are not based here. You'll be coming
exactly.
into. All right. And where will it be held?
At Medina Estate, just behind the Jefanko Abattoir.
Just behind the Jefanko
Abattoir?
Yes. Okay, I know that route very well.
So
it's on just after, is it Medina something circle?
Yes.
You go down.
Yes, exactly.
Where that school is? Is it school?
Action
Is Action still?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to have a great time. The times that we have to come and visit you will be when?
Yeah, it's the morning sessions will be handled by my dad. You know, it's more of training and teaching time for men of God and all church leaders, and even everyone. Is because about knowing what to do in this life and knowing your purpose. Starting every day, daily on 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. the morning sessions, and the evening sessions are 6 p.m. each night. We are starting this Sunday 5 p.m.
And you are ending ultimately
on the 10th of December. But the 9th we have this the Stars in Worship, you know, where we bring all the stars together to worship together in the house of God.
All right. So a great time with you, and we hope that we'll have some messages thereafter, or perhaps in between the event where you can come around, so that we have some grace in our studio. Thanks for coming through Ghana.
Yeah, before we end, I want to add I want to talk about the morning session. Actually, the morning session specifically is for pastors and church leaders. So the theme is equipping and empowering pastors and church leaders for a generational change. Emphasis on generational change. I mean, you asked a very brilliant question concerning societal and all that. Now, if the pastor gets it right, the church member will get it right. So, no, I have put together all my notes. So it's like I'm really going to encounter the pastors and church leaders. We all share ideas and ask ourselves, from where have we come to, and what are we doing now, and what are we trying to hand over to the next generation? We cannot afford to leave the church in mess and expect things to go smoothly. So that is one key component of December to remember 2017, which I really want to add. Okay, so that way, thanks for passing through the studio. All right, nice. All right, Professor Samson Amwating, who is the head pastor, general overseer, Archbishop, House of Miracle Ministries worldwide, and also in the studio with his great father, Dr. Gabriel Amwating. He's a professional chaplain based in Illinois, Chicago. I love the word Chicago, you know. And they are having an event. It's going to start from this Sunday. It's going to end on December 10th. Please make sure that you are with them. Just after you go through East Legon, IPS or UPSA, you go through Action Senior High School, and then you go to, there's an abattoir called Jefanko just behind there, around Medina. Please make sure that you have yourself there and experience all the good things of Christian life. And Dr. Gabriel Martin, thanks for passing through. Thank you. Okay, when will you be leaving Ghana? Hopefully December 15th. Oh, December 15th. We should have lunch before you go. Okay, good. Please try and fix it.